And now the attack vector for pre-fork, what they patched out has been revealed. And so Michael Sutton, obviously the developer for Kaspa, or one of the developers, the head developer, main developer, M. Sutton on their Discord, has posted a Medium blog post covering what the security issue was. So I figured we could learn a little bit here. The attack vector described below resembles some similarity to the Bitcoin transaction malleability issue, but is actually a bit different and even reverse in some sense. Exploiting this vector would require intrinsic knowledge of our consensus and code base, but nonetheless, we decided to be a precaution and fix this issue as soon as possible despite the short-term hassle. Finding this issue and fixing it is another advantage of the code rewrite to Rust acting as an audit process, and we'll be talking about that here in a second too. All solutions below were already gradually applied through the above mentioned version. The final hard fork kicked in at September 28th, 2022, 9:20 UTC at a DAA score of 2,790,000. Is that right? 27,905,000. There we go. I can read numbers. It's fine. It's a little easier if you give me the commas though. Transactions include a per input sig op count field indicating the number of signature operations required to verify the spending of that unit. This field is used when calculating the overall mass of transactions, since signature verification is the most costly operation in the transaction verification process. Problem discovered by Ori Newman during the Rust rewrite at September 12th. Transaction hash as well as transaction ID do not include the sig op count field in the hashing process. This means that Merkle root of all transactions is unaffected by this field, and as a result, nor does the block hash. So attack vector number 1, a malicious node can easily manipulate sig op count to render the block mass too high without affecting the block hash, so that the nodes receiving this version of the block will mark this hash as invalid, while others receiving the original block will consider it valid and will mine over it. Even if the recipients of the modified block get the correct block data, eventually it will hash the same and the block will not be rechecked and will remain invalid, which will immediately result in a net split. And then there's attack vector 2. A malicious code manipulates sig op count with a small change where it's still under valid mass, but different from the real numbers of signatures, the block passes body in isolation validation. But when considered by virtual resolver, a few things can happen. If it's candidate to be a chain block, it gets disqualified from chain since the validation logic discovers that it lied about the number of SIGs. Or 2, when merged by a blockchain, this transaction will not verify correctly. Transaction signature engine will expect the wrong number of signatures. This attack vector does not lead to a net split. However, it can lead to a chain split since nodes disqualify each other's blocks from being chain blocks. The permanent solution is as follows: hard fork such that sig op count does get included in the transaction hashing process. And the problem, HF or hard fork, basically code, must be published at least a week in advance, leaking this vulnerability to anyone tracking us closely and actually increasing the threat of the net split in the intermediate period. Of course, the block is now, the hard fork is put through, and it appears to me that we are seeing essentially some success here, at least right now. I didn't see anything crazy, but in the hard fork version, they added a second, basically a second solution. They made the following changes immediately apply to the security patch. 1, ignore sig op count when calculating mass, and 2, ignore wrong sig op count when validating transactions against past UTXO. This means that as long as we get a majority to adapt to this version very fast, then only non-upgraded nodes are vulnerable to the net split attack. Now, like I said before, we had less than 1% upgrade, so I think that this is probably fine. However, this opens the door to possible data spamming by sending transactions with many transactions. Since no sig op count limit until the hard fork kicks in. This is not too bad since every signature still increases the number of bytes in the signature payload, a quantity which remains under mass limit. Note number 2 includes some components that can be used to net split non-upgraded nodes from upgraded ones. However, unlike the permanent solution, this will happen only as a result of an actual attack. So the strategy was to cover as much detail as possible during this sensitive period. And then I think this is the final added solution 3. In the pre-hard fork changes, we limited the number of actual SIG-ops and limited the overall number of TX inputs per block with relatively large constants. Explanation: since number 2 still includes the possibility for an attacker to net split the minority which did not upgrade, we can temporarily add other constraints that will limit the block mass and thus limit possible spamming. These constraints are already implicitly respected by previous versions, so only a deliberate attacker could have used them. So basically avoiding any accidental attacker. So this is kind of where we are at. And let's go ahead and continue our news with Kaspa currency. There is a Rust update from Mr. Michael Sutton, and he says, Kaspa currency on Rust update. We are nearly done implementing consensus block validation. Once completed, we could start cranking up the transactions per second and BPS and get a first idea of how fast Kaspa can go. Initial modest goal is 4 BPS, which is implying a 4x transactions per second from basically the Go version. So basically quadrupling the speed from essentially what it is now on Go to what it will be. And Kaspa is already extremely fast. So getting even faster, I mean, in my humble opinion, that's going to be a pretty big deal. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Do transactions per second matter in the world of cryptocurrency? Do they matter more in, a proof of work setting? Let me know. And let's move on for the day. I'm personally excited for it. We have some news from Conflux. They have a hard fork upgrade coming, version 2.1 network hard fork upgrade announcement. Conflux network will be upgraded when Epoch reaches, this number, 56,800,000, which is estimated to happen on October 18th, 2022 at +8 GMT. All nodes need to be upgraded before the time mentioned above. Most CIPs, which are Conflux improvement proposals, will be enabled when the block number reaches the, let's get this, 133,800,000, estimated to happen on October 25th, 2022, same time zone. And CIP 99 will be enabled when the POS, proof of stake block number, reaches 330,000, estimated to happen on October 25th, 2022. The full nodes programs download link is at their GitHub, and links are down in the description so you can go find it for yourself if you need to upgrade your node. This hard fork will activate 5 different Conflux improvement proposals, including CIP 94, 97, 98, 99, and 105. Brief overview of these basically improvement proposals. CIP 94 is a CIP that proposes to use on-chain DAO voting to decide and update reward parameters without a hard fork. CIP 97 proposes to remove account staking lists. And CIP 98 fixes a bug in the block hash opcode in eSpace. CIP 99 allows more not voting terms before we force retire a node, and make the unlock period of a retiring node shorter to allow the node to rejoin the POS of voting faster. And then CIP 105 is proof of staking, POS staking based minimal DAO vote count. So if you guys want to check out more about this on more details, you can definitely check it out down in the description below. To the ordinary users, this upgrade will not affect the normal use of Conflux network. However, they advise to avoid using the network due to instability and operational delay during the upgrade. there is a possibility that your assets on Conflux network will be lost. So according to CIP 94, after that hard fork, users can use on-chain DAO voting to decide and update reward parameters without a hard fork. So essentially being able to change the monetary policy without a hard fork is my understanding there. And I am finding that a lot of projects seem to have their monetary policy not figured out from the get-go, which is, the more and more I become closer to becoming a Bitcoin maximalist, it's like, let's just figure out the monetary policy at the beginning, because, you cause so much strain on these networks and arguments and debates that it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely simply insane. When, as opposed to that, you just have Bitcoin that doesn't change and has had the same monetary policy since inception and will have it through its lifespan more than likely, right? Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com, where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.